I'm Jeff Merrill from JMYS. I am in Vero Beach, Florida, and this is a training video. I'm going to be helping Neil and Kathleen Donohoe, who have purchased a Nordhavn 50. We purchased it at the end of last year in 2019. It's now June of 2020. My first travel trip after the global crisis, the pandemic, the coronavirus, COVID-19. It's a little bit weird flying on an airplane these days, but it's going to be really familiar being offshore, and I'm looking forward to that. Neil and Kathleen have done some early training with Bernie Francis, who specializes in training on Nordhavns. One thing that we like to do at JMYS is find some time with our clients after they purchase the boat to make them comfortable and familiar with systems. So I'm going to try to shoot a little video here of what it's like to be offshore, doing some training. This is hull number 5 of the Nordhavn 50. Her name is Granuel, and I'll let Kathleen give you a little history of where that name came from. We have her all waxed up, polished. Neil and Kathleen are from Colorado originally. Grown kids, retired now, sold their house, money in the bank, and a boat on the water with all their worldly possessions. So this is what it's all about for them right now. They're going to enjoy the trawler lifestyle for hopefully many years to come. But this will be the first real solo adventure. Solo meaning that they're really by themselves. I'm going to be the training wheels, try to give them some guidance, some tips. Mostly just watch them. Just make sure that they've got things the way they want to do it. This is kind of a learn-as-you-go process when you buy a trawler. There's Neil getting ready on the foredeck. Filled up the water tanks, have our fuel tanks on, getting ready to take off shore power, and getting ready to take off. We plan on leaving about 10 a.m. so that we can make the bridge around 12 or 12:30, and then head offshore through the inlet at slack tide.
Right, to check the steering, interior, so stowing all our goodies.
Yep, I got everything down.
Great. And that's another we can go through with Jeff. We've got
Did you
in our
close the
checklist.
portables in the bedroom?
Yes. Safety gear list. On the foredeck, the air inlets.
Yes.
Should we turn
With the calm sea conditions, I think we're fine. If we see it's getting bad, you can turn them back. If it's really going to be wet, then we take them off and put the screw caps on. Better to do anything at the dock that you think you might have to do out there, but with our weather forecast, I would say the ventilation will feel good.
Okay.
So we have a pre-departure checklist that I provided, and it's a generic one. So there's a few things that don't apply to this boat, but I've provided it to you guys in an electronic format so you can fine-tune it. But it's a good general
more
overview.
Comprehensive than what we had.
Well, it includes having a copy of the manual, the spare parts, the tools, all those types of things. And we will find out what we're missing once we're offshore and put it on our to-get list once we arrive.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a training cruise, right?
Yep, training cruise. Yeah, it looks like you have everything neatly tied down, stored. What I'm concerned about is anything that might get in the way of the steering. So a boat hook type of thing that would fall down there. But it looks like, Neil, you have everything.
Yeah, I tried to push everything
tidy,
small like that off to the sides. Way or strapped down. Boat hooks are kind of wedged back there, fender boards. The only thing, was this is pretty heavy though.
Is that a?
It's a crash pump.
Okay, that's good.
So it's
accessible.
The manual steering tillers right here.
Yep.
It used to be wedged.
Emergency tiller.
So I just put it down there.
Have you tried that yet, the emergency tiller?
No.
Okay, we should make sure that it fits. But I mean, at this point, I think we will take our chances with where we are.
Bernie, we did try to fit, but we didn't actually go manual.
Okay, good. And then the door will clear for the engine room so we can come in here. I find offshore, it's usually, you're probably not going to be outside. You know, certainly at night, we don't want to be outside. During the day, you have to let somebody else know if you're going outside and wear a harness. But the good thing with this Nordhavn 50 design is there's a door there that connects the engine room and the lazarette. So we could come back and check this area out without having to go outside. And you've got the door clear. See, that's something if this box came down and blocked the door, that would just be a nuisance to get that around. But I think we look really secure down here. Everything's tied down, ready, steady, go. Let's do it. All right, Kathleen, you've got your checklist.
It's the checklist, nice bright green.
What is your system? You've got a little color code up there. That's pretty handy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yellow is always on, blue at the dock, green underway, and red as needed. So kind of red's good. Stop and think before you flick it on. That looks like a Bernie checklist.
It is a bright.
Good job, Bernie. And it's specific to this boat?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I modified it extensively. I just took, he gave me.
Get a starting sheet and then you fine tune it to your boat. Engine room door is aft of the master stateroom. Nice and quiet and relatively cool now. Lugger on centerline, wing engine aft to port, generator to starboard. We took the sound shield cover off so we could easily access it, inspect it underway. There is the door to the lazarette. Delta T blowers, part of the water maker back here. And you might notice a little bit of blue tape. Fuel filters, blue tapes for reference, some different targets to shoot for temperatures, some visuals. Nordhavn 50 engine room makes it relatively easy to get around. One of the features I like about the Nordhavn 50 engine room is that you can sit down here and you have plenty of room around either side of the engine. One thing we could possibly add would be a stainless steel rail around the engine just for a little better support there. But this will work fine. You can keep your center of gravity down for walking around the engine room. Neil has created a spreadsheet. So, for example, this is number 7. You would shoot with your infrared temperature gun at this point, record that data, and over time we'll develop enough data points that we can then come up with an average estimate on what the temperatures should be. Other items involved, and this is over on the stabilizer reservoir, we have a couple of analog gauges, and so we would record those values, what the normal numbers are for that. But very well organized engine room, neat and tidy. Again, they have anything loose strapped down, fire suppression system. So I like to think that this is the most important room on the boat, as this is what makes it all happen.
All right, transmission neutral, start the engine check. Get the sock on.
Socks on.
Pressure, temp low, RPM normal, volts good. And I'm gonna go
We're also gonna take down our starting mileage.
and we'll start the wing engine as well. I'm gonna add that to the checklist. If you pick it up on that, we should put that as our standard.
It's a good idea to start the wing, just keep it exercised.
Jeff, fast. Do you turn on the generator before we take offshore power if we're going to use it?
No. My new checklist I have, we always turn off shore power, unplug from shore power first, even if we're just going to test the generator. Another Bob Center recommendation. Eliminate the possibility of a problem.
Checking the thruster.
Want to go back?
Nope.
You can hear it. Oh, I got to turn the dryer off.
Disconnecting shore power. Connection is back aft, but the dock power tower was forward, so we've got an extension here. While we're warming up the boat, electronics are good. Glendinning.
Not hot yet?
No, feels okay on the feet. Gentle breeze. Breeze is coming off your starboard side. Just gonna want to push it towards the piling. It's nicer if you can hand the lines rather than throwing them. That's very nice. Port side is clear.
Yes.
Gotcha, Neil. Yep, headsets are good. One strategy I have is I like to leave the fenders and the lines just as they are until we completely clear the marina. You have to retreat if something happens. We have the windlass ready to go if we need to stop. Nice and slow. What was our time of departure, Neil?
9:55.
All right, and it's now just after 10. Beautiful day. Sun, some clouds, soft breeze.
North Bridge, North Bridge. This is southbound motor vessel Granuel standing by for your next opening.
North Bridge, Captain. Next opening will be 12 o'clock.
Thank you. Granuel standing by. Monitoring 09.
We're in the pilot house. Neil's just about ready to turn over his watch to me. Neil, what do you think?
It's much nicer now. The seas are relaxed like wash.
Yeah, we were getting bounced around there earlier. It wasn't really, I wasn't motivated to film. Didn't want people to get the wrong idea about this lovely experience out here. And we're, what, 18 miles offshore?
Thereabouts, yes.
About 130 feet of water. You said you saw
We just saw a flying fish.
lots of flying fish.
A turtle.
Looked like a pixie.
Sea turtle. We saw a sailboat when we first came out here, and a big power boat went by, not on AIS. Stealth, could have been a drug runner. Hint, hint, Coast Guard. You'll find this, 3 years later. We don't know who he was, he or she. Good deep blue water out here. Scooting along at 1500, which is not exactly lighting it up, and showing 5.5 knots.
Kind of picked up a knot.
But we were back down to about 1300. It's amazing how just a 50 RPMs can make a difference in the ride. Course is about 026. And we'll have light for probably 2 more hours, 2.5 more hours. And it'll be the first night passage.
Woo-hoo.
Very exciting.
It's good to be out here.
It's the worst places to be.
Kathleen, you did an engine room check. Everything's good? Okay. What surprised you in the engine room?
How very hot. I honestly, I more like I was joking, but it's the air itself is, even though it's
It's dry and warm. And
it's a lot hot. Like I could feel the hair on my arms. I
yeah,
get too
don't
close
touch any metal parts down there.
now. I'm like looking for cinnamon.
And then we have a little surprise puddle too, right? That
I
we
clean that up. I put a towel on it, put the towel down.
okay.
So nobody's gonna wipe out.
The captain knows what the puddle's from. What's the puddle all about?
Actually, not sure.
Okay, yeah. To be honest, water stays on the outside.
Yeah.
That's a part of our rules.
Reflecting a little. Souvenirs, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we've had the bow way up and way down. We've been doing a little bit of porpoising. Yeah, through the screen, it looks so calm. You can never get a feel for when it's bouncing around. So somehow I've been scheduled for watch now. I'm on control. I've bumped up the RPM. We're 1700 now.
We're 50% faster.
We're going almost 10 knots, 9.8. Notice my touch on the wheel, very light helm. That's because we're on autopilot. And notice the water depth. We're approaching 300 feet. We're 30 miles off the coast. And we believe we might be riding the Gulf Stream. Elevator up, heading north. We really got bounced around earlier. It's pretty lumpy, pretty bumpy, pretty sloppy. It's not exactly glassy now. We've got a real sweet angle. The flying fish have been scooting. I've been told, actually I haven't seen any. We definitely have stabilizers. That's one on our checklist, and you can tell without even looking that those are doing their job. No other boats are out here. I'm not sure if that's because they shouldn't be, or we shouldn't be, or we're just being lucky. But it's a great run right now. We're coming up in about 2 hours. We'll have our first sunset, and then our first overnight adventure. Neil and Kathleen are being good troopers. The forward stateroom where I'm being detained will not be where I'll be sleeping tonight in these current conditions.
Paintings dropping.
Yes, there was a painting on the wall. It's now a beautiful rug. And the squeegee in the shower jumped off its hook. And those are the only things I'm going to report that happened up there. It's really fun being out here. The boat is running sweet. All of our numbers make sense. We've got our checklists. We're checking everything. Get a little bit of a feel for the ride here.
Front and back, side to side.
Kathleen did the Rain-X on the windows.
Just fooling.
Beating off. We do have wipers just for aesthetics. They last for, well, one wave, and then all of a sudden it's time to use them again. Neil's just gone down in the engine room for a check. And hopefully it's next stop, North Carolina. There's a 10-knot boat speed.
What?
10 knots.
We gotta be this.
We don't have water temperature. That would be one way of confirming our position on the stream. We do have a pretty cool gauge over here that shows us how much water we have. There's 300 gallons to start. We're at 286 now. I don't know if that comes through with the flashing on here, but we do check our water level on each hourly check. I was able to report to Neil, hello, that we had used 1 gallon of water in the last hour, and he admitted that he had washed the dishes. So if you ever need a good crew who washes dishes, Neil's the guy. So it's a little bit bouncy now. We'll probably back it off a little bit. We were going so slow for so long that we wanted to make a little bit of ground. But one thing we have to remember as we're out here is this is pleasure cruising. And so I'm going to back it off. And Neil's down in the engine room. I'm going to come back a little bit. He might take that as a signal that it's time to get out of the engine room, because we do have that in play as well, which wouldn't necessarily be bad. Got some big ones coming here. So we're back down to 1,500, and we've dropped to about 8-9 knots. All right, I better get back to my job here. Kathleen,
Yes.
you've now done 2 overnights, just finishing up a watch here. Do you have any idea what any of this stuff does up here?
I finally do.
You actually are great at this. You've shown me a few things. I love it. Uh-oh, what is it? Triangles aren't good.
Triangle's moving past us.
That is an AIS target.
Right there. That is
Oh,
Southern Puma.
yeah, that might not show up on the screen, but there is a big freighter.
Southern Puma.
He's cooking. Did you click on him and see how fast he's going?
He's going 11
Sort of right there as well.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I shut it down. But
Yeah, on the AIS. AIS is amazing.
its closest point right now is 1.1.
Okay, good. What did you do? You
I
adjusted?
adjusted starboard a lot.
Did you throttle back or just keep the?
I just kept.
Okay, good.
I want to throttle back like I
No reason not to be at least a mile apart out here.
no.
We're about ready to do a watch change here in about 20 minutes. Is that right, Neil?
I'm up next.
Have you done your engine room check yet?
Not yet. You
Okay.
get me out of here? Yeah.
No. We'll get a little bit of that. It's been a very interesting trip. They all are. This one has been interesting because it's just been very uncomfortable most of the time. We've been slogging it through the first 2 nights. We ended up going outside of the Gulf Stream on the European side as opposed to the U.S. side, and we missed our ride, and we got into chunky, clunky seas. There really wasn't that much to film. We didn't want people to think that it was that much unfun because it really kind of was that much unfun.
Nobody threw up.
Nobody threw up, but the boat's a little bit of a mess. It's a salt bath outside. Neil, tell me about the crane situation. We had a crane incident. Not an incident. You prevented an incident.
It came loose. One of the lines that was strapping it down came loose. Under Jeff's tutelage, I was up there on the boat deck
With your harness on.
with my
Yep.
on my life jacket.
They say that safe boating is no accident. And so Neil went up there. We were going into the pretty good pounding seas, and the steelhead crane was bouncing around a little bit. Just minor. It was still tied down, but the line had come a little bit loose. So we discussed a more secure tightening on it, which involved 2 towels to kind of make sure we didn't scratch it. And then I was able to use a iPhone cord. There are many cords and attachments, electronic devices on board the boat, to demonstrate how to do a trucker's hitch to Neil so he could get some good purchase on it. Honk that mother down.
That's good, doesn't it?
And we haven't even checked to see if it's still there, but we believe it is.
No noise.
No noise. And we're not planning on launching the dinghy anytime soon. But so, Kath, our original ETA was to be in at the sea buoy.
About 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Or 10 o'clock.
No, the original.
The original was to be there this morning, though. Right?
Yeah, right there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was
7
right
a.m.
today.
and 1 p.m.
Yeah, we are following that rule that if you are going to a new port for the first time, it's better to do that not only in daylight, but optimally in slack tide. So when you have a slow boat, what are your options, Kath?
You can change course or you can slow down.
Yes, so we
Did both.
kind of did both, yes. And we're now going to enjoy one more night at sea, your 3rd night watch. You had a little trepidation about the night watch at first.
I was scared. I didn't know how I'd react to not being able to see outside. And it was nothing. I think it helped, honestly, to be here as the sun went down. And so the darkness kind of snuck up on you a little bit. And then I looked up and realized this is not a big deal.
But you really can't see anything. All you can do is feel it. And if the boat's bouncing around, you just throttle back or change your course, like you said. So
For 12.
it's a pretty, kind of overcast day.
Yeah.
Oh, we had another major problem that Neil, our captain, solved. We lost our air conditioning.
Oh, right.
Yeah, what happened there?
Well, we think, it's a guess, but we think due to the turbulent ride, there was a lot of air getting into the sea strainer and into the pump, the AC pump. And so went back there in the LAS while underway.
And what do you think the temperature was back there?
It was definitely in the low hundreds.
Below hundreds, and the ride was not like this.
It wasn't too bad.
It was better being
When
aft.
you're down low like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't really feel as bumpy as
It's one of those things, though, you kind of think, well, you know what, we can endure it. We can put up with this. It's just not. And Neil said, no, I'm going to go back there. We discussed it a little bit, and he Clayton, who's the previous owner, had put in a little thumb screw or something on there.
A thumb screw bleed valve and hose.
And shown Neil, fortunately, how to do that. So Neil knew how to do it, but you had never had to do it before.
Well, I usually use that particular tap for when I'm cleaning the street.
Okay, so you've been there, so it's familiar, but you hadn't used it to.
It enough for this.
Yeah, so he was our big hero when we got air conditioning. It was just hot, miserable, bouncy, and Neil came to the rescue. And for that effort, he was awarded a white hat. Oh, wait, it's got a logo on it. He got that anyway, and so did Kathleen.
Yay.
So, okay, our freighter's
I'm
gone
waiting a
by.
little bit.
Yeah, always better, and take my word for this, I've learned this the hard way, to take somebody's transom than to try to judge your time and distance. Yeah. So one thing we've been doing on this trip is we've been recording on a little Post-it note our autopilot headings, so we know what the last course was. There's a pretty extensive checklist that the on-watch captain fills out. We record course changes, and we also put in all of the latitude, the longitude, how much ground we made. Oh, I see another little triangle has showed up on our screen.
I have to turn that way.
But that's okay. Just do a slow turn to go behind
Where are
it.
they showing up? They're 10 miles out.
A lot of room to maneuver around here.
Yeah, I don't mind going a little bit off. Intended.
It's a beautiful boat. Really well put together. Very comfortable. Are you getting ready for the engine room?
I'm going in the end.
You're going in the engine room? Well, I might just have to follow you down there.
Do it.
Okay. This is where we sleep when we don't like the sea conditions. The starboard settee is great. The cornice chairs are comfortable. Not as comfortable as lying down, but pretty darn good. If you're tired, you'll fall asleep.
I saw you on the floor.
Yeah, I've slept on the floor. Can't fall very far when you're sleeping on the floor. Galley area. There's our watch schedule. We have this posted on the refrigerator. So at any given time, you can look and see when you're up next. We do have a safety class to prevent people from flying down the stairs. I'm going to follow you down. Yep, I'm going to follow you down, so I'll get that behind. And then Kathleen will most likely switch over to the camera mode on one of those screens so she can keep an eye on Neil. Down to the living area. I'm up in the forward cabin. Neil and Kathleen are back here. And I'll grab the other set of earmuffs to follow you in. Earmuffs off.
Too hot.
Not too bad. I would say the only thing I would suggest, because I haven't been down there with you, is just if you can get the gun just a little bit closer in a couple of places. I like to try to be 6 inches or closer, but some of it depends on the placement. It's better to be further away and be safe than to risk doing something. So we have pages of data, and eventually with all this data on these charts, Neil will be able just to put together some summaries, and we could probably put some range numbers on each of the data points, make it easier so you don't have to record everything. But it's a good exercise, keeps you fresh and in the game. Kathleen knows that we're out because she heard the engine room door open and close. Outside wearing a safety harness. Checked in with the crew to let them know I'm coming out here. Wanted you to get a feel for what it looks like out here. This is what it's like most of the time. Clearly it wasn't earlier, and that's why we didn't do any filming out here. There's the wake. It's a wide body Nordhavn 50. Which means there's one walking side deck. Very salty out here. Beautiful seas. Portuguese bridge is a great feature to be able to, if you needed to, come out here. You wouldn't come out, once you're offshore, you don't come outside without checking and letting somebody inside know and putting on a harness. Off in the distance, Freighter 2. Freighter 1 is way off in the distance. Back aft. The overcast skies, you can't quite take in how blue the water is that we saw when we had a lot of sun. Seen flying fish, sea turtles, a lot of birds out here. About, I think now we're 45 miles offshore. We got out to about 100 miles. We went too far. We went beyond the Gulf Stream, which was a tactical error that cost us a lot of time. But we're living by that rule that one of the most dangerous things you can have on a boat is a schedule. And I don't have a return flight yet. The whole idea was to help Neil and Kathleen get the boat up to North Carolina. And then when convenient, book a flight home. Dinghy's here. Here's the crane where Neil secured it so it doesn't wobble around. Good idea to do an inspection in conditions like this before sunset, just to make sure everything is secure. Neil's doing his watch list as the oncoming captain. So that's it for now. Thanks for following along. It's good to have you on board. Don't know when we'll get this video up, but we're shooting this in June of 2020. It's just great being outdoor. I love being out here. Miss being with Pam and the kids, the rest of the family, but as somebody said, you got a pretty good job, Meryl. They're right. I do. I love what I do. This is a lot of fun. Doing a training trip, giving them the confidence to go out, and hitching a ride myself. No complaints. Well, we made it inside Southport. We're in the channel now. Came from that ocean way out there. Beautiful houses on the beach. Timed our arrival for daylight and mostly slack tide. Fun, productive trip. couple of bumpy days, one extra day longer just due to our timing. We just couldn't get here at slack with daylight, so we slowed down and played it safe. Looking forward to washing up the boat and getting cleaned up myself. Well, we made it. We are in Southport, North Carolina. We had an adventurous trip. Neil, how many miles did we go?
420 miles.
420 miles, and probably most of 400 of that was offshore.
That was the offshore portion.
Yeah, yeah. But there's the dock to dock. I didn't count the hours. It was 3 nights and a good part of 4 days.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It was almost 4 full.
What time did we depart? 10 o'clock in the morning.
And we landed at about 8 o'clock in the morning on Thursday.
So
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
we were thinking we would do it about what, half a day later, a day shorter.
We were going to be in between noon and 4 the day before.
We got too far out offshore. We were 100 plus miles offshore. We got outside of the Gulf Stream. There's so many features on this, and I'd like to compliment Clayton and Deanna, who had the boat before when she was Tivoli. And we should have you talk about the name of the boat now, too, in a second. But the one thing that we don't have is a water temperature sensor. And when you're going to be riding the Gulf Stream, that's one way of kind of helping to verify, because we got into deep enough water that our depth was not reading. And so we learned out there. But we're getting beat up. We had to throttle back and run at about 5 knots. It's very discouraging when you're keeping a trip log and you note that you made 5 miles forward progress in 1 hour when you were anticipating maybe making 8 or 9 with the Gulf Stream pushing you. So tell me about the name of the boat.
Okay, the name of the boat is Granuel, which is the Gaelic pronunciation of Grace O'Malley. Grace O'Malley was a 15th century Irish pirate queen, and I am one of her descendants.
I've been sailing with a pirate all this time.
Yes. R.
Yeah. No, it's a cool name. It's a unique name. One thing that was kind of a bit off is the AIS tracking us was not available on all the different channels that you can follow that. I like to check in with my wife Pam offshore, and Neil and Kathleen have a Garmin INREACH, which I was able to text her and let her know is okay. So that's a good feature. But we have all the electronics. We have all the gear you really need to go offshore, which they've inherited and improved on. We did our pilot house watches. We worked on a check sheet for that on a clipboard, and we also had one in the engine room to make sure we were monitoring everything. We were doing an engine room check as you came on watch at night. During the day, we did it more closely to on the hour, but we now have some pretty good values to summarize. So when you use the infrared temperature gun and you shoot a spot, you can have a pretty good range instead of having to record it all the time. And we talked about what you need to do kind of on a fast engine room check if it's really rough versus doing the full thorough tour. And we've also talked a little bit about the flow to maybe make it easier and smoother for next time. Maybe have 3 or 4 places to sit in the engine room to get the values you want. And then in the pilot house, the flow was, we were jumping around a little bit to get things. We're just going to talk about fine tuning it, but you don't know until you get out there. We have the data now, and we had a good report. Neil, what was your favorite part of the trip?
You know, I think experiencing the rough conditions. Just I wouldn't want to do it again necessarily, plan it that way,
Yeah.
but to exercise this vessel, to exercise, see how well we could handle it with you on board.
Yeah, well, it's comforting to have somebody who's done something like this before, and that was the whole idea. When you guys purchased the boat 6 months ago, we had blocked this week off, and
Right.
I'm prone to say that the most dangerous thing you can have on a boat is a schedule.
Yeah.
But the weather looked good enough. It wasn't as friendly out there as we thought.
Right.
The wind never really got much over 20 knots,
No,
but the sea was lumpy, and the only thing you can really do is adjust your course or go a little bit slower, which we had to do both of those. Yeah. What about your first time at the helm at night? What were you thinking?
I was scared. I mean, I was nervous leading up to it. I won't say I was scared. I just didn't quite know what it'd be like to steer in darkness and just go totally on instruments like a pilot flying an airplane.
Trust them, right?
Trust them and trust me to catch everything. We do have a lot of very good instrumentation that makes me feel more comfortable.
Yeah, there's 30 or so things in the pilot house that we're monitoring
Yeah, and
all the time and then recording every hour.
And I, especially having both the near and long distance radars was very helpful.
Yeah, 2 radars.
And having our plotter there was a good thing. It all having it all available made me feel a lot more secure. And I had other people tell me often, you won't even notice it. You'll just get used to looking at the radar, and it won't be a big deal. And I agree with that.
But when you're looking forward at nighttime, you're not seeing the waves. So that last hour or two of twilight, you kind of have to get the speed right, and
the angle. Yeah.
Because you don't want to go clunking. I did not spend one night up in the forward cabin, which was my deal. I actually was up there at one point using the toilet. It's just sanitary and safer to sit down on the toilet. I went flying. I was a flapjack up there one time. And but that's part of it. We do have 2 heads on the boat. They're both forward. You have to go down the stairs, which can be a little bit dicey at night. There's a safety leash across the rails there to keep you from falling down, but we just left it on most of the time and just limboed underneath it. And we found when it was really rough, of course, it was much safer to sleep further aft. The VIP stateroom on this boat is the starboard settee. And I slept on the floor one night. Fine. And you're tired. You need to get that sleep so you're ready.
Right.
Once it settled down, it was nice to sleep in the stateroom.
We did have one incident where we lost the air conditioning, and Neil was brave enough to volunteer to go back to the lazarette and reprime the pump, which fortunately is something he had learned before he did. I mean, you really need to know how to bleed the engine if you lost fuel, which was never an issue for us. Neil was responsible for our fuel selection, and he did a great job because we came back into the dock and we're very level. So we consumed about the same amount of fuel on both sides.
I stared at those valves for a while before I turned.
Yeah. I don't want to get this wrong. Yeah. The supply and the return and which side. So no, well done, because we're nice and level now. What was interesting for you about engine room checks?
Again, the engine room is loud and hot, and in the tossing seas, I was a bit concerned about hurting myself.
Yeah, a lot of hot stuff in there, moving
I
parts.
want to get it. But I think what I love about this boat, and one of the biggest selling points in this boat, was the very large engine room.
Yeah.
And so for me, Neil had me run through the checklist several times before we got underway, so that I was relatively comfortable with where the stuff was. So I was going to be checking. And I think I got quicker at it as we went along, because like the first time it took like a half an hour to an engine room check.
Yeah.
I got down to maybe 10 minutes or so. Just understanding.
You kind of learn where you need to sit and how you need to hold the gun, and where you need to position yourself in recording. So we have all these values now, which we can now summarize so that when you shoot position number 17, you know it's between 170 and 180 is normal, and you can just shoot it. We'll put 170 to 180 there, and if it's below that, you're probably fine. If it's over that, something may have changed. But part of this trip was to gain the confidence of going offshore and also gather that information both in the engine room and in the pilot house. We did plot on the paper chart as well, so we lost things. And we did have a turnaround at one point. The crane sticks out over the starboard rail, and the lines that were securing them were not taut. They kind of loosened up, and we just didn't want that thing flopping around, possibly damaging it. So we did have to retreat at one point, turn back, give up some hard-fought ground, and Neil and I communicated. He put the safety harness on, went out there. I was out the door, sticking my head out the door on the starboard side, talking to him. But we didn't discuss the maneuver before he went out there, and so we lost a little more ground with that. But now he knows how to do a trucker's hitch, and I was able to show them how to do it using an iPhone cord. Which,
Learning how to tie a new knot under duress.
under duress, yes, yes. So the air conditioning and the crane were probably the two biggest adventures. We ate well, but we didn't eat a lot.
Right, right.
You've had.
I think that's probably something we learned to maybe prepare food in advance to a degree of actually making the sandwich as opposed to trying to make a sandwich while the seas are so heavy.
Yeah, well, you
little things like that were just so difficult.
When you're at the dock, you don't notice things, but having it like you do everything in baskets, so you can pull a basket out. Because when you open up that refrigerator door, the bow goes up, everything's in your lap or on you, and then you got cleanup and so. I was granted the forward VIP stateroom, which was not a very comfortable place to sleep or to use the head. I got flipped up in the air sitting down on the toilet up there once or twice. But you learn how to adjust on those things. You just have to take your time, and you don't want to be carrying a lot of stuff. One hand for you and one hand for the boat. Really, it's just to kind of.
And having drinks up, we don't have a good place to put anything down that wasn't going to go flying.
Yeah.
So that's not going to brought up.
So we've reviewed some of the things we learned, some of the things that they could do differently to improve the next trip, and that's part of this whole cruising experience. But we needed to get out of Florida. What was your deadline for insurance to get north?
I believe it was July 1st.
Okay, so
we had 2 weeks.
Yeah, and so we're 10 days ahead of schedule, and the weather was cooperating enough. You look at the wind, you look at the sea state, and you look at the period, and it didn't look that bad. But once you're out there in the slop, it was bouncy.
Worse than that.
Yeah.
It also was not organized, and we were side to side and up and down.
Yeah. Yeah. Stabilizers were huge. You got to have the stabilizers, and that was part of the check to make sure that the reservoir was right and that the fin lockers were inspected. There's a flashlight down there, infrared temperature gun. Plans for the summer. Now you're here. What are you guys going to do?
Cruise to Chesapeake. We'll be heading up from Southport to Portsmouth, Virginia. Hang there for a few weeks, and then start moving north to Chesapeake. And then probably until October time frame, and then start coming down. Maybe hang out in North Carolina, South Carolina for a little bit, and then down to Florida.
It's kind of nice to really not have a defined schedule, just more of a general area to go cruising. Well, thanks you guys for inviting me along. It was really fun. It's been fun, the whole process of talking over the couple of years to find the right boat and buying the boat and then get into
here we are,
guys. Well, and when I came on, this is part of the thing is when I sell a boat, I like to do this. It's hard to schedule every time. We try to offer that, but timing for everybody is difficult. And this is the first trip that I've got on a plane since the COVID pandemic hit. The plane travel was not a lot of fun, but it was really fun being out here with you guys. And I think a lot of the people in the marinas are, mindful of that. We're just not, you guys aren't going to be interacting as much with people in the community, and you've got your own social distancing vessel here to go out cruising with. So anything either of you guys want to add to this?
No, just a lot less. I'm glad we've done it, and I feel more comfortable with the thought of doing overnights now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want to do, multiple weeks of it, but I now know we can do it. And I agree.
It's coastal cruising, right? It's much more comfortable going offshore.
Yeah.
You'll be, and again, I would say it's easier at night for a couple of reasons. There's less traffic out there, but you have to know what everything is and know how to trust it and how to operate it. The ICW, when you're having to stay within channel markers and there's a lot more traffic, is actually harder.
I think it's a different stress level, but it's almost more significant than.
You make miss one buoy and all of a sudden you're in the muck.
Right.
Yeah, and I would also add that scopolamine patches or some type of anti-seasick medicine is hugely important.
Yeah, and you guys had just the right amount, and that was well done. I've been fortunate, having been on boats most of my life, that I've gotten seasick before, but I didn't do a patch, and it affects people differently. But you guys, it worked great for you guys because you got your sleep and you were active and alert when you needed to be. So, well, this is exciting. So this is the beginning. Now that they bought the boat, set it up, and got it up north, they get to go play. So I look forward to hearing about your adventures. You guys are working on a blog too, aren't you?
Yes, we do.
Tell us about what the blog is so we can follow that.
It's mvgranulecruising.blog.
Okay.
Yes, and it's so far I haven't been doing like a daily thing. We go out and we both.
So hopefully we'll start filling up the details.
Wherever we travel anywhere, what it's like, what we've done on the boat so far, put in some pictures and video, and
a link to the GARMIN INREACH so you can see where we've been.
No, that's fun. That's great. You'll have a lot of followers, people watching you.
It's fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's fun. People out there who are thinking about buying a boat, it's just what you guys did. You went to the Trawler Fest, you talked to people, you read blogs, looked at YouTube videos. There's a lot of information out there to learn about this before you have to write the big check.
You could also say
Do it.
we took a big step because we completely sold everything that we have on the land. So we don't even own a car, and this was our first boat ever. We never owned a boat prior to this, so either fools rush in where angels fear to tread, or whatever. But it's been a good. You can do it. You can make this happen without a whole lot of experience.
Yeah, it's
With the right help.
Yes.
That's the key.
well, I knew with Bernie Francis, we should give kudos to Bernie, which I think we've mentioned before. Did some training with you guys.
Yeah.
We had Steve and Antonio on the survey team to make sure the boat was right. We have a lot of checklists that JMYS provided to you,
Yes.
including gear,
Yes.
swag.
Swag.
Yeah, it's not worth buying a boat just to get a free hat. Well, actually, the hat was how much you pay for the boat, and everything else was free. So,
there you go.
so great. Well, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes.
Thank you. I look forward to coming back. Maybe I can bring Pam back.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll go to Bahamas, man.
Yeah. She's been told that twice before, and the weather was
She's not a
frightful.
believer. Huh?
Yeah, well, Pam, if we can make it work, we will. So, well, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. Neil and Kathleen, all the success to you guys, and
Thank
keep in touch. I'm just a phone call away.
Yes.
If I see you calling, I will answer.
We know.
All right, good. All right, see you everybody. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Way to go, you guys. Great job. Thank you. Safe travels. Beautifully done. Hi Trawler fans, thank you for watching the JMYS YouTube video channel. I'm fortunate to be offshore again. If you'd like to subscribe to this channel, you can click the button below. We also like to publish other listings and other trawler skills videos. You can click on one of those on the side to watch those. Thank you very much for your thumbs up. We love having you watch our videos. We love putting them together for you and hope you come back again soon.